It's time once again to tell a story out of the world of football. This time it's all about a national hero who is still misunderstood in many places today. The boy who, according to a legend, could not walk as a child, was to become one of the greatest footballers in African history. Today we talk about Emmanuel Adebayor. We're back at Football Worldwide. A new week, a new video, a new story. And as previously announced, today we're talking about Emmanuel Adebayor, the man who carried the trophy at AFCON 2024 into the stadium, the man they're still not too fond of at Arsenal, and the man who would become the most famous person in his country, Togo. There's a legend about Emmanuel Adebayor that goes something like this. Until he was 5 years old, his parents were worried about the fact that little Emmanuel only crawled. They took their son to healers, preachers and clergymen of all religions, but nothing helped. A Christian priest instructed the family to pray for their son for 7 days. If he was still unable to walk, he would not be able to for the rest of his life. From Monday to Sunday, they spent a lot of time in church, praying for their son to finally start walking. On Sunday, he could still do no more than crawl. Legend has it that a football match took place in front of the church, from where the ball rolled into the church. Little Emmanuel is said to have screamed in fear, but also felt something in his legs for the first time, and stood up. At a press conference on the sidelines of the AFCON, Adebayor was asked whether all this had really happened at the age of 5. His answer? Wrong. I was 6 years old. We will probably never know whether it all happened exactly like that, but it does show one thing. This man is special, his story is special, and that's what makes him so interesting. His story begins in Lomé, the capital of Togo. He is the son of parents of Yoruba ethnicity. His father exchanges money at the border between Togo and Ghana. His mother sells meat. He is the youngest in the family, and his job at the time is to find buckets to collect the rainwater that drips through the leaking roof. There is no toilet or electricity in the family's hut. He attends the Centre de Développement Sportif de Lomé and plays football for Sporting Club de Lomé. That may sound professional, but it is anything but. Initially, the coach sends him away after his first impressions, but he returns with his uncle, who used to play football in Metz. And it soon becomes clear that football could be his big chance for a better life. At the age of 15, he plays with Togo in an international tournament in Burkina Faso and is voted best player. Ajax Amsterdam becomes aware of him and offers him a trial. The young Adebayor is too pleased with himself and doesn't bother with a visa. A few months later, he does go to Europe with the Togo youth team. He plays in the next tournament, this time in Sweden. There, Met scout François de Tadeo becomes aware of him. After his return to Togo, Emmanuel is the star of the neighborhood. People start comparing him to Kanu, and he becomes his role model. In 1999, he accepts the offer to move to Metz. He didn't have much in his luggage, but the heavy burden of an entire family's great hope for a better future. In Metz, he is greeted by the unfamiliar European cold, which makes him doubt his decision. At home, he would be the star. His mother would feed him. But what would happen if the 400 francs a month were used up? So he decides to stay. This huge pressure from home, the homesickness, the new home. It's all a lot for Adebayor. In later interviews, he admits that he once came close to committing suicide during this time. The reason he gives is his family, who had become manipulative and greedy and kept pestering him for money. Imagine that. You're not yet 18, in a foreign country, and then there's this. Nevertheless, he makes it and becomes one of, if not the best player in the Metz Academy. And then also gets into the professional squad. His first games? The very last before a relegation to Ligue 2. Despite the relegation, the top European clubs want him and recognize his talent. His discoverer, now mentor, De Tadeo, advises him to stay in the second division for another year. And so he does. And it is the right move, because afterwards, in 2003, he has the choice: England or Monaco. He decides for Monaco, in favor of Didier Deschamps, his new teammates, Fernando Morientes, Dado Pirzo or Ludovic Schuly. And he works out, plays 3 years at AS, is also there the year Monaco reaches the Champions League final. In the winter of the 2005-2006 season, Arsene Wenger calls while Adebayor is in Togo. The coach of Arsenal, the club where his idol Kanu used to play. He doesn't have to think twice and accepts immediately. And he learns quickly there, putting in extra shifts with Thierry Henry after the actual training on the pitch. Adebayor grows stronger and stronger, becoming one of Africa's biggest stars. He had already made his national team debut in 2000 at the age of 16. His greatest moment was of course qualifying for the 2006 World Cup in Germany. He scores 11 times in the qualifiers and is the guarantor who leads Togo to their first and so far last World Cup. The country comes together. After the pain of the colonial area and all the hardships, the country can celebrate the greatest success in its football history. The 7th of October 2005, a day for eternity for all Togolese. But also a moment of sadness for Adebayor, who had lost his father a few weeks earlier and was unable to witness the great success with him. The tournament also turns out to be special. The team negotiates bonuses with the association and went on strike shortly before the start of the first match. FIFA intervenes and a solution is found at short notice. Although Togo loses all 3 games, it's festive days for the entire country. At the head of the team is the star, Emmanuel Adebayor. It is a great time in his career and he is also voted Africa's Footballer of the Year in 2008. He stays with the Gunners until 2009, when a messy separation occurs. Adebayor actually don't want to leave Arsenal, but Wenger tells him that he is no longer part of his plans. There's also a dispute with Robin van Persie. So he moves to Manchester City, which wasn't as big a name back then as it is today. His first game for the citizens? Against Wenger and van Persie. Of course. And what follows is the scene that was to outlast his career. He scores a goal, pulls off a long sprint across the pitch and slides on his knees in front of the Arsenal fans in the stands. Of course, he is met with hatred, the fans go berserk. But Adebayor has his satisfaction after the transfer. He later says that he felt untouchable at that moment. It's a relief after all the tension. But of course, I can also understand that the Arsenal fans were less able to understand it. Then, in 2010, a negative highlight of his career. On the way to the Africa Cup in Angola, the Togolese team bus is shot at. 3 people die and 9 get seriously injured. A group seeking independence for the Cabinda region from Angola is responsible for the attack. Adebayor later described the attack as one of the worst things that had happened to him in his life. Togo withdraws from the tournament. But Adebayor's journey continues. After Manchester comes Real Madrid, Los Blancos, the first Togolese player to wear the white shirt at the Bernabeu. Once again, the first Togolese player. And he feels like royalty. Everything is ready, everything is a category bigger, even than at Arsenal. Next to Cristiano Ronaldo in the dressing room, coached by the special one, Jose Mourinho. He scores 5 goals in 14 league games. Mourinho wants to keep him, but his journey continues to Tottenham. There too, alongside the stars, Gareth Bale, Luka Modric, Rafael van der Vaart. In 2015, one of his Facebook posts attracts a lot of attention. In it, he harshly attacks his family, writing that they are working against him and only ever call him for money. When he was hospitalized for an injury, his mother called, but only asked about money and not about his health. He posts this message because his family had previously threatened to go to the press and put him under pressure. But he wants to share his side of the story first. This negative relationship with the people closest to him has thus continued throughout his career. He stays in England for a few more years before spending a few seasons in Turkey. He almost always delivers his goal. He's a star everywhere anyway. Then in 2020, things get spectacular again. He signs in South America, in Paraguay, with Olimpia Asunción. When he arrives, he is greeted by a huge crowd and is the center of attention. The African superstar in Paraguay. There he meets up with his former teammate at City, Roque Santa Cruz, but Corona ensured that the adventure ends quickly, after just 4 appearances. A red card in the last game remains. He returns to Togo, and there are repeated rumors that he will play for Semasi FC. Representatives of the club tell a media portal that this is false information. To this day, rumors persist that he played for the club. Just take a look at his Wikipedia or transfer market entry. But the fact is that his last club was Olimpia in Paraguay, and Emmanuel Adebayor no longer plays football, unless he's playing for charity or with friends on sandy pitches. This is how his sporting story ends, but Emmanuel Adebayor still moves people. In Togo, in Africa, all over the world. He wears crazy hairstyles, he always speaks his mind clearly and has become an icon of the continent. He has achieved incredible things in sport, becoming the most famous Togolese player in the world, and is one of Africa's greatest football icons. But he also had to struggle time and again, with strokes of fate, family problems and, at the start of his life, probably also with not being able to walk. He is an inspiration to me in many ways, which is why I wanted to tell you his story today. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, please subscribe and I'll be back next week with the next story from the world of football.